Good morning. The Companion Animal Subcommittee of the Senate Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources Committee will come to order. Let's call the roll.
Senator Favola?
Here.
Senator Hackworth?
Here.
Senator Marsden?
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we're ready to go. Delegate Bell, you have the first bill up.
Chairman, good morning.
Good morning.
This is an issue that you have seen before. There's a Senate version with Senator Stanley. I'm happy to make a long presentation about why we think there is need for this. But you have been kind enough to tell me before that you're anticipating applying the language that passed to this bill. And
That's correct. We've looked at it. I do want to hear from the folks out there, but this would allow you to go into conference, I believe, with Senator Stanley's bill that came out yesterday, and we can deal with it. We are familiar with the bill. If you could just give us a quick review for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this addresses a puppy breeding facility and issues that have arisen there involving violations of the Animal Welfare Act. There was language placed into the definition, not, in fact, you don't see it in this bill, but in the commercial dog breeder language, definitional language that has an exclusion where the animals are being sold for research purposes. And this would, if you will, eliminate that loophole for this portion of the code. It doesn't go into the larger issue about whether those should exist at all. It doesn't address animal research, and it doesn't address the definitional language, but it would say that for the purposes of these violations and the impact and sanctions there too, that the dealer and commercial dog breeder will include any person that breeds dogs or cats as regulated for research animals.
Thank you. Question, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You used the word for experimental purposes, and I think Senator Stanley used for research purposes. Is there a definition of experimental? Or, can you explain to me what the difference would be between experimental and research?
Madam Chair, I think the language of the bills themselves is the same. I think he might have just used, I'm checking that right now.
Okay. Yeah, would you just check? Because that popped out at me, but maybe I'm remembering incorrectly. It's quite possible.
Yeah, experimental would definitely have a looser definition of what one would do with
But then research.
research.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought we used the word research, so I just would like to understand.
Mr. Chairman, both words talk about experimental purposes, which is not defined, but they do use identical language.
They do use identical language.
All right.
Okay.
There we
All
go.
right.
We have heard testimony on this bill at a previous meeting. If it's okay with those of you who are here in support of Delegate Bell's bill, unless anybody has something new to add to it, could you, if you are in favor of the bill, could you stand? Thank you so much. How about any in opposition? Okay. Could we have a motion on the bill?
I will move that we report the bill, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do we have a second?
Recommend reporting to the committee.
We have a motion, a second, that the bill report. Would you call the roll?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we conforming and reporting, or just reporting straight?
Just reporting straight.
Senator Favola?
Aye.
Senator Hackworth? Senator Marsden?
Aye.
Ayes 3, noes 0.
Welcome to Companion Animals.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if we don't conform, there's nothing to put in conference.
If we don't, excuse me,
That's
is
what I was
that?
wondering.
I thought that there would be enough of a difference
Conforming, we'd put the other bill on.
because
top.
they changed
There's nothing for the House to vote. If we report it straight out, there's nothing for the House to vote on accepting or rejecting.
because they amended Senator Stanley's.
They did not amend.
They did not. They amend. Okay, they put Senator Boysko's bill. All right. Could we could have a motion to reconsider the vote?
So moved.
All right.
No, that's my understanding of what was happening.
Yeah,
Or
I had a
my expectation.
different understanding as to what they did with Senator Stanley's bill. So, all in favor of reconsidering? Could you call the roll?
Senator Favola?
Aye.
Senator Hackworth? Senator Marsden?
Aye.
Ayes 3, noes
Okay.
0.
Could I have a motion to conform and the bill to Senator Stanley's and report?
Yeah, second.
Second. Call the roll.
Senator Favola,
Aye.
Senator Hackworth, Senator Marsden.
Aye.
Ayes 3, noes 0.
All right.
So this just means it's going to go to the full committee with this recommendation.
Correct.
And the full committee will actually vote to, we hope, conform. They usually follow our illustrious lead,
There you go.
usually.
All right.
With that, may I have a question, Mr. Chairman? I'd ask the gentlelady or you. I'm happy to attend. I'm happy to use that time for some other purpose. What is your recommendation?
I would say we will give you a call if we run into any kind of a problem, but I don't anticipate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
All right. Next, we have is on our sign-up sheet, we have Delegate Converse Fowler. All right. Welcome.
Hello, Mr. Chair and Committee. Thank you.
There we are.
Thank you for having me.
Certainly. Tell us about your bill.
I do have I've been tested for COVID a million times. I just have a cold,
Okay.
just to let everybody know. HB 523 requires that pet shops shall retain records indicating any time a dog, a cat, or a cat in its possession or custody dies or is euthanized. These records need to be maintained for at least 2 years, made available for the inspector and the animal control in their respective localities. Currently, all Virginia's animal control officers, private and public shelters, and all rescues must report their natural deaths and euthanasias to the state vet's office annually to be published for public information. So HB 523 will help inform to animal control and the state animal welfare inspector if there are repeated outbreaks such as parvo. I hope it would be the pleasure of the subcommittee to pass this on to the full committee.
Thank you, Delegate.
I'm fine with it, aren't I?
I checked with VDAX. They are still working on their pet store regulations. They're still working on them. And I would assume that something of this nature would also go into the regulatory package, but we don't have that yet. So, the bill, looks to be in good shape as far as I can tell. But do you have any questions here from?
Yeah, this is a process question. Are we expecting this bill to go into conference, or is it identical to,
No.
or just different?
Mr. Chairman, this bill is not really even that similar to anything we saw on the Senate side because this just deals with pet shops.
It does.
And the reporting bills we dealt with were dealing with the breeders and the
Yeah.
breeder facilities.
Yeah, there has been a rather significant increase, from my understanding, in the number of pet stores out there, and so this is becoming a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they are responsible owners and what have you. But something like this, I can't imagine we wouldn't be put in the regulations and would help guide those regulations. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
Senator Marsden, members of the committee. My name is Kara Moran. with
Yep, please,
Virginia
yes, so the
Positivity.
audience can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And the
My name is Kara Moran with Virginia Positivity. We are up to 22 pet stores now, and when I first started this, we only had 12 or 13 in Virginia. This is more about being transparent so consumers can make better informed decisions moving forward. And I just wanted to mention that when it was in the House side, it did include rabbits. Rabbits was taken out, but that was in the Petland Pet Store in 2020. That was I guess where they came in and confiscated all the animals. They had about 14 dead rabbits in the freezer. So I hope that we can report to move the bill.
Oh, okay, thank you. Sir, please step forward.
Mr. Chairman, committee, my name is David Foley with the VPAA. Basically, we want to thank the patron for working with us on this bill as far as like with the rabbits, taking them out. Other than that, we only buy healthy animals, so we very rarely ever euthanize anything. And if we do, it's only by the recommendation of the veterinarian.
Yeah.
So, other than that, hopefully this will strengthen and show that we're trying to clean up our industry, even though most people don't believe that. We are really trying, and we do appreciate you passing bills concerning that. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Next.
Chairman Marsden and members of the committee, my name is Tabitha Treelor. I'm the Director of Communications at the Richmond SPCA. We support this bill as well. All of Virginia's releasing agencies provide public, transparent statistics to the state every year, and this is a good start in bringing along the pet stores that sell animals for profit.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Holly
Hi, Holly.
Humane Federation, and we are strongly in support of this bill.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Sharon Adams. I'm speaking on behalf of the Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters and the Virginia Animal Control Association. How's everybody this morning?
Good.
Good. We're in support of this bill. I will remind you that when we passed the commercial breeding bill in 2008, we also talked about pet stores. This is a consumer protection bill. It's an animal bill, but it's a consumer protection bill. I would have preferred that the reports not just be made available to the inspector, but be presented to the inspector, which would make them available then for a consumer if they want to buy a husky puppy, that they know whether or not that pet store has had a history of husky puppies that die. But nevertheless, the bill says available, and that's where we are, so we support it. Thank you.
I think, Sharon, that through the APA process, when the regulations are put out there, is that, that is a comment to keep in mind, to have the regulations reflect that things will be routinely reported, not just waiting for the inspector to show up to review them.
I shall do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for staff.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Favola.
Well, no, you can take your speakers. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Molly Armis, I'm the Virginia State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. We support this bill. We think it marries well with the pending regulations.
Thank you so much, Molly. Senator Favola, you had a question for staff?
Yes. Is it possible that we can strengthen the language on line 20 to 22? Because it says shall be maintained for a period of at least 2 years. So they'll maintain it for 2 years, not longer, and then and shall be and provided to animal control officers and the inspector. Do we want it done every 2 years? It seems like this is just one point in time, but it's not clear that we want this to happen in an ongoing basis, and we want it to happen every 2 years. Is that the intent of the patron?
Mr. Chair, I would say that would be the intent, but we didn't want to overreach and not get a bill on the books.
Sure.
So that was what our intent was of course.
I like your bill. I have no interest in
Right.
harming it.
Yeah, I think that this gets us in the right place, and we need to look at the regulatory process to set all of this stuff in timeframes and what have you. So I think that will work well down the road. But I don't know that we need to do anything. What do you think, Lisa, in terms of?
Well, I am Switzerland on what you should do with the bill. I don't have opinions about bills. But I would say I think how this would work right now is that for each animal, the pet shop would have to maintain the record for 2 years after the death. So that would be a rolling, depending on when a given animal passed. And then provided to the animal control officer's inspector, I think is an on-demand function. So at any point, it wouldn't just be that they would get them once every 2 years. The animal inspector could go in on a regular basis if it wanted and say, I would like to see your records. So
That should become a routine part of any
And
inspection.
you believe the language is strong enough to, it says what you just said.
it does.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Is there anyone here in opposition to the bill? All right, we have a motion. I have a
Second.
motion and a second to report. Could you call the roll?
Senator Favola,
Aye.
Senator Hackworth, Senator Marsden.
Aye.
Ayes 3, no 0.
Ayes 3, no 0. The bill reports to full committee. Thank you so much. All right, Delegate Campbell. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Good morning.
Tell us about Senate Bill 50, or House Bill 53.
House Bill 53 deals basically with zoo animals. What we did was we took the code sections for agricultural animals, which is 3.2-6500, 6558, 6568, and 6569. and we inserted the word zoo animal into that code section in each place where it was appropriate. Basically, the agricultural bill, which we were using, was designed to allow farmers a mechanism for being investigated. How is it going to occur? And what's going to happen next? Who can take your animal, and when can they take it? And I think y'all probably are all familiar with the incident up at Winchester, and which was really probably brought the spotlight to this whole issue and got people together, got people concerned. Our small businesses that run zoos are spread out across the whole state. I happen to have 2 in my district that are very successful. They bring a lot of revenue into the county every year. But what I just passed out to you was a memorandum that was discovered on a FOIA request with the Game Commission. And it actually deals with the Wilson Wild Animal Park search. The Game Commissioner, the way I read this, is where it came from, but he was making notes as these calls were coming in. And his first call on the top page there was from the Attorney General's office advising him that they were going to seize primates at the Wilson Zoo. Game Commission has no interest in it. At 10:49, he got a phone call from Fred Friesel with the Game Commission, the District 4 biologist, wanting to know if he was aware of what was going on. He said yes, he was. And he said, well, he told him, he said, it appears they're also going to take the goats. About an hour later, he received another call from the game biologist, and he said they want to take the fallow deer. Right. At which time the Game Commissioner said, no, this is a region for the deer disease, and those deer cannot be removed. They have to stay there. So a little bit later, got another phone call, and they wanted to seize 3 red foxes and send them to Colorado. And he advised that they were a native species in Virginia. They could not be removed. And the thing continued on. But basically, I could keep going through every step of this and point out to you what happened at that search. But I think we all realize that when you go in with a search warrant, things might change on the ground. It could affect your opinion, and you might want to do something a little different. But from the point of the average citizen out here looking at this, it is very frightening to think that you're in this particular type of building or business, and the people can come in, and even if they have a search warrant, they can come in, and then they can start seizing your animals. And it clearly states right in here that they took the 3 foxes against the Game Commission, telling them they couldn't take them. So
what does
both sides are at fault here.
What does the bill do to address
The bill, by putting the zoo animals in with the agricultural animals, it gives them the same process that a farmer has. If he has someone come into his farm and say he's mistreating the cows, he's not feeding them, they're starving to death, they're sick, the state game warden has to be contacted, he has to be told. And if the animals are to be seized instead of basically allowing the farmer to correct the situation, the state veterinarian has to agree to this action. And I personally have been involved in complaints against farmers, and I have contacted the state vet before on a farmer. His cows were literally starving, they were dying in the field. So I know how this process works, and I think it would be a good place for the zoo owners to basically have some sense of relief and have a structured system that if they start getting investigated, This system will be followed.
So, Mr. Chairman, just point of clarification. Thank you. So there is no process now?
None, nothing.
Okay.
My local dog warden could go into the safari park and start investigating it with no reason at all.
Okay. All right. That is the bill. Are there those who, in the audience, who would like to speak in favor of the bill?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. My name is Heidi Krosky, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Virginia Animal Owners Alliance. We represent several zoos as well as pet owners and farmers, and we're asking for your support of this bill. It will promote the welfare of zoo animals. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Welcome. Good morning. I am Beth Edwards, and I am here from Fort Chiswell Animal Park, and we are asking that you support this bill.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, good morning. Hi, I'm Michael Bogan. I am here on behalf of Rua Safari, and we are strongly support of this bill.
Okay, thank you. All right. In favor of the bill?
Reservedly so, Senator. I do. The Virginia Alliance for Animal Shelters and Virginia Animal Control Association support the bill as it's amended. Do have a couple of clarifications. The game warden is not who would be called with an agricultural animal, you're right. But the other thing I do need to say is that there would be no investigation on this matter were there not complaints. Animal control officers do not go out to do a complaint investigation without the complaint, without a reasonable suspicion. So that's not correct. What we hope this bill will do will be to develop within the VDACs a resource base for animal control officers so that when these situations occur and they contact the state vet, as they do with an agricultural animal, they will then also be able to access, and I think you're going to hear from Susan Seward, they will be able to access veterinarians with expertise as it relates to the specific species. That's part of the deficit that we have now. We don't have a tiger specialist at VDACs. And so that process and that resource development is the aspect of this bill that we support. And I want to commend the delegate and appreciate his willingness to allow us to work on this bill. We're very grateful for that.
Okay, thank you. Susan.
Good morning. Susan Seward with the Virginia Veterinary Medical Association, and to follow up on what Ms. Adams said, we are in the process of compiling a list for the use of the state vet's office with veterinarians in Virginia who do have exotic animal expertise. So when these calls come in, the resource, as Sharon said, there's not a tiger expert at VDACs. We actually have a tiger expert here in the Richmond area who would volunteer their services to be sort of an expert witness on these types of cases. This seizure process for ag animals has worked for many years. It's worked well. So I think this is a good way to handle these situations when they arise. So we do support the bill as amended and thank the delegate for working with us.
One of the things that was, was a fairly big change is starting to refer to, to these animals as agricultural animals, and which, there's a whole different, I guess, standard by which their care is judged compared to companion animals in your experience?
Well, sure, and we do have ag animal care standards in the code separate and apart from companion animal care standards. We do not have an exotic animal care standard, but what this bill is doing is talking about the process. Where we can assist in this is having veterinarians with the experience in exotics to say, no, this tiger is being treated correctly, this camel is not, and that's where the outside resource, I think, could be helpful.
Okay, thank you. All right. Are there those in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the bill?
Hi there, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. My name is Molly Armis. I'm the Virginia State Director for the Humane Society of the United States. We are concerned about the change that this makes to the code. We believe that it adds a level of confusion by creating a new term, zoo animals. We see this as a solution in search of a problem. We think the law is working well. The laws are being followed, as Sharon mentioned. Complaints are called in, and animal control investigates. So we don't believe that this is a necessary change. We think, again, Virginia has a great law, strong law, working well for the animals in the state. And so we encourage you to not support the bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I am representing the Richmond SPCA in opposition to this bill. We believe that it loosens protections for the exotic animals housed at zoos in Virginia, and remind you that these animals are not native to this climate, and that standard related to agricultural animals is not appropriate for them when it comes to seizure in gross cases of mistreatment, neglect, and harm that's being done. So we ask that you oppose the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Holly Hazard for the Virginia Federation of Humane Societies. We are in opposition to the legislation as it's now written. Animal control officers have got a huge amount of work to do. They're not going out looking for places to investigate, and when they do, the current law works very well in ensuring that animals are well protected in the Commonwealth. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Delegate Campbell, for amending the bill. We do still oppose the bill. I'm sorry, I'm Daphne Nekminovich with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I just wanted to, I'll just add to my colleagues' comments that there was due process afforded the person, Wilson's Wild Animal Park, which prompted this bill that has been introduced in the last couple of years. There was a 12-hour seizure hearing in which a judge found that the animals had been cruelly treated and would not be returned to that person. So there was nothing out of the ordinary occurred. Everything happened in accordance with law, and the owner of the animals was afforded due process. We are concerned that it creates a new category of zoo animals and seeks to strip them of protection, so we do oppose the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment on the bill, for or against? All right. Questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Delegate Campbell, this is basically wanting to set up a process for which, if there is a complaint, is that correct? I'm understanding that right?
Well, it's a process for if there's to be seizure of the animals. The state vet has to sign off on it. The state vet has also said that he will need $20,000 a year to hire basically veterinarians throughout the state that have this expertise. They currently do that right now with horses. They hire people in different parts of the state for horse investigations, and so it's not a problem with the state vet's office. It's not a problem with anyone. And the one thing that I did not mention in this FOIA request was that the USDA APHIS had inspected this facility on August the 6th, and this raid took place on August 15th.
Who did the investigation again?
The USDA.
USDA.
And they found everything in compliance. So, and the thing went to court, but you've got animals that have been taken to Utah, to the PETA facility. You got some of the primates were brought to Richmond and some euthanized, and the local animals were given to a person up there that, according to the owner of the zoo, was already advertising them for sale. So I don't think due process should be questioned here. I think that this whole thing that happened in Winchester was not completely handled properly, and I can understand why the people who own zoos across the state are concerned.
Yeah. Would you say that that when you say it was handled improperly, was it handled in ways outside of our current laws?
Yes. The seizure of the red foxes and sending them to Colorado after the Game Commission had told them they could not be removed was in direct violation of Virginia's laws.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Favola.
I'm wondering if we should maybe gently PBI the bill and send a letter to VDAX asking for recommendations or asking them to convene a stakeholder group to look at this issue.
I don't, I think we could, maybe take the bill by for the year rather than PBI it to, there seems to be, some disagreement, and there's some folks here who feel like we're on the right track. Generally speaking, the problem with the USDA is they don't seem to take any action. Once they find what they find as being bad, they don't do that, and it creates a lot of consternation here in Virginia when people are looking around going, well, what are we doing? And then what we're doing gets confusing, and people don't apply the laws correctly. We have all different kinds of animals in place. I was hoping, and I got a bit of a setback yesterday when the inspection bill that I had put in place for the Envigo facility to pay for an inspector. The committee in the House thought otherwise, but what I am hoping to do, and I was thinking of maybe taking this bill by, is to study the whole issue of how we deal with congregate care of animals in Virginia. Who inspects, who does this work, how does it all work so that it all flows together, whether you're and this is involving, companion animals. And I would just hate to, make a decision to just to solve a problem by changing the whole category of animal from one category to the other without some time to look at this, because I think you're on to something here. But Senator Hackworth.
Sharon's wanted to say something, may clarify that.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Delegate Senator Hackworth. Yes, I understand what you're going to do in the bill. I do want to disabuse you of a couple notions. If you look at the bill, we talk about animals in zoo. It does later refer to zoo animals, but I spoke to Ms. Walmart, and that's simply
where they're housed.
Of the word.
Yeah.
These are animals in zoo. They're not a distinct class. And exotics are, by definition, in code, companion animals. So this bill does not change the care standards related to animals in zoos. What this bill does is to develop, whatever you do, develop a process by which investigations that would result in seizure occur. And likewise, which is what we care most about, is it encourages and authorizes VDAX to develop the kind of expertise relative to this that they will tell you that they require. But it's important to me that you understand we would never support anything that changes the care standards for animals. That's not what this bill does.
But it does transfer them from the companion animal category to agricultural animal, or to...
No. In this section of the code, and Ms. Wallmeyer is better on this, simply in this section of the code, we're talking about the process, the legal process, by which a seizure occurs. And what it does is it puts animals in zoos into the process of notifying the state vet. That's what it does.
Which is what happens in the case of a cow or anything else. Okay.
Exactly.
So can I have a point of clarification?
Certainly, Senator Hackworth.
So basically, the same seizure process or complaint process would just follow the agricultural from the farm animals instead of the companion animals.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
Thank
correct.
you.
Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Appreciate your expertise. I would still like to...
Mr. Chairman, I guess I would just ask that and I'm fine carrying it over, that's fine too, but I do think it's worth articulating our thoughts in a letter to
Certainly.
VDAX.
I would entertain a motion to take the bill by with a letter to the state vet and hopefully convene a stakeholder group to, figure this out amongst other issues that we're currently trying to deal with.
I told
And
the state that for a good while about this. He's familiar with the bill.
Mhm.
He didn't seem to have any problem with the
Yeah.
way it was written.
One last comment.
Yes, Mr. Hackman.
So I actually spoke to VDAX about this at length, and they was very open, and they would like to work with, I guess, stakeholders and different things to actually come up with a process. I think one of the things that they were a little bit worried about was they don't have that process today. So they was wanting to try to work and get that process maybe more precise and speak with different groups to see how that process, because I'm very much in favor of what you're trying to do here. And I think it is, we do not want our zoos to feel threatened every time they see somebody that pulls into the parking lot. I think they do need to have due process. I feel like that they do need to have the same rights to seizure as maybe
Well, an example of what's going on is one of our zoos in the state lost one of their animals this past 12 months. And they actually contacted me because they were scared that if the word got out that they were going to get investigated for mistreating that animal, when actually that animal had a terminal illness and had to be put out. So, the fear is out there with these small businesses. And
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, my thoughts would be, I would strongly support sending a letter and working with VDAX, trying to get this process as quickly as possible with stakeholders to try to have this, because I think it would make a lot of our zoo owners feel a lot more comfortable.
Because what concerns me is I think the USDA lets us down. And it puts our state processes in place that you really are somewhat confusing and difficult for people to carry out, and hopefully we can get a better handle on this. But I agree with you. Everybody needs, due process, and I think this bill does move it in that direction. Let's see if we can get everybody on the same page and bring this back next year. If I could have a motion in that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that we very gently PBI the bill, or do you want to carry it over?
Carry it over.
Okay. I move that we carry over the bill with a letter to VDAX, asking VDAX to convene some meetings with stakeholders to come up with recommendations on a due process for these animals before they're
Thank you so much. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Thank you. Would you call the roll?
Senator Favola?
Aye.
Senator Hackworth?
Aye.
Senator Marsden?
Aye.
Ayes 3, no 0.
Delegate Campbell, thank you for your
Very
work on this. I know you put in a lot of time on this, and I think you're kind of headed in the right direction. We need to, hear from some other folks and clear up some of the confusion.
The type of person when I see something that I think is unjust,
Yeah.
I grab onto it and don't do it.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's good. I
Take
think
care.
you'll have an opportunity to really work this one.
Well, anyway, if there's no other business, committee will rise. Thank you all very much for that, and thank you for our continuing audience here and for all you contribute to this process. We really appreciate it.